Raising the Bets is brought to you by the Star Quest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to Raising the Bets. We're a Catholic couple raising 5 kids outside of Boston. Join us as we share the joys and challenges of marriage, homeschool, and our adventures near and far as we make sense of the world and experience the best parts of our culture. I'm Don Bettinelli.
And I'm Melanie Bettinelli.
So Melanie, happy Prime Day. We're in the octave of Prime Day, by the way.
Maybe you are.
Well, actually, is the octave of Prime Day the 8 days in which all of the stuff you bought on Prime Day arrive? I think that's how it works. Look, Optimus Prime didn't die for all of us so that we could commercialize the holiday. Sorry, there was a great Optimus Prime meme. You know who Optimus Prime is, right? Transformers.
My brothers watched Transformers when we were kids.
Yes. I didn't. I saw the movies. I endured the movies. I think that's a better way of saying it. First 2 movies were okay. Everything else, ugh.
But you watched the movies even though it hadn't been a thing when you were a kid?
Yep. Giant robots that turn into stuff. You never outgrow that. That is the thing.
I will take your word for that.
Yes, every guy is like, ooh, giant killer robots that turn into cars and planes. I'm here for that.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So speaking of Prime Day, I saw a stat that said the average American household will spend $250 on Prime Day this year at Amazon. And I'm thinking, wow, because there's going to be there's a lot of people who don't buy anything from Amazon. So that means the people who are buying are really spending a lot of money. And it's kind of brilliant if you think about it, because Amazon created a new Black Friday in the middle of the summer doldrums. You know, because the summers, nobody's buying stuff for summer except they tried to do back to school stuff, but nobody's buying, electronics and TVs and stuff. So they created a new shopping day. I mean, it's kind of evil genius, but it's evil genius. It's kind of brilliant. Anyway, I bought some stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some stuff we needed, and having it on sale was worthwhile.
There was some stuff we would have bought anyway, like for Christmas presents.
Right. Well, so that's what we decided is I saw they had a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to say what it is because I know at least 1 or 2 of the kids sometimes listen. So, you guys, gotcha. You're not going to find out what we're getting. You get. But there was stuff that is worthwhile for Christmas, and we actually bought Christmas presents in advance. We're like those people who buy Christmas presents in the summer now. It's kind of wild.
I wouldn't go that far. we did it once because it was on sale.
Yes. Well, we could make it a habit. That would be really odd. Could you imagine getting to December 1st and going, well, I have everything?
We don't have everything by a long shot.
No, but I'm saying, if we kept this up by December 1st, you could have everything and then just coast into Christmas. That would be kind of awesome. Anyway, so we got a bunch of that. And then, I wanted to splurge a little. So I bought a drone. I bought a DJI drone. The kids have had these cheap Chinese knockoff drones, which is kind of dumb because DJI is a Chinese company, but they're really hard to fly and all sorts of stuff. But even the cheapest DJI drone is really easy to fly. And I've wanted one for a long time, and it was on sale, and we had a little extra money, and I wanted to get one to use for Mysterious World. I had some ideas of things to do with it for the now that we do video for Mysterious World. So I have some ideas. I'm going to run them by Jimmy and see what he says.
You have ideas. I'm scared.
I want to do an episode on the Bridgewater Triangle, which is this, like the Bermuda Triangle, a region where all kinds of weird supernatural paranormal stuff is reported that we actually live in Massachusetts. We live at the northern edge of it.
And yet somehow I've never seen any of the weird stuff. I feel cheated.
Oh, it's coming. Let's go spend a night in Ames Knoll Forest State Park. Although the scout camp might be in it. It might be. It might be south of it actually. But anyway, tangent. Got the drone, and I got it out there for the first time this evening after dinner, and just took it flying a little bit. It flies so easy. It is so cool. it's so automatic. It's idiot proof, and that's saying something when I'm flying it. So a lot of fun, but yeah, I get some other things, like some normal like household things. Nothing exciting, I don't think. Although I did get I did order the new door, electronic door lock. What am I trying to say? The automatic door lock that now has a key, so that when the battery dies on it, you can get in the house. Which has always been my fear, is the battery die. Because if the battery dies on the door lock, we have the Yale electronic lock on the house that you can control with your phone. But if the battery in it dies, you can't open the door because there's no key thing. There's no key backup. So I bought a new one that has a key backup. We got the first one for free because we got it from Vine. So, it's proven its worth. So the only other kind of thing that was notable this week is I bought wood for the smoker.
Yeah, it's been a quiet week.
Yeah. So I needed to get wood because I've been using the smoker more, and I where do I get wood for that? And so I went on this Facebook group for local, like New England Pitmasters it's called, and I asked, and someone pointed me to this guy who lives in the next town over, and he's a wood guy. He cuts down trees, chops them up, sells it to people, and he sells them on Facebook Marketplace. So I contacted him, and he brought me big pickup truck load of not full pickup truck load of oak and what was it, cherry, a little bit of cherry. And so dropped it off. I just love dealing with these regular blue collar working class guys. I was saying he could have been like the brother of the contractor who's been working for us. Just sort of real regular guys. They tell you talk the entire time. He's helping, he's telling him his story, all the stuff, but all the wood and all those weird customers he's had and all this other stuff. It was kind of fun. So we get all this big stack of pile of wood now that I can use for the smoker or for the fire pit for that matter. There's a lot of wood. So that's about it for stuff going on this week. We got a heat wave coming in. We're finally getting the heat that everybody else in the country has had. We've had a fairly mild summer, but that's over now. We're going to get, I think every day this week is supposed to be in the 90s, and one day is supposed to be 98. So
it's going to be like being in Texas.
Yes, it's like Texas, except cooler because Texas has been triple digits.
I know. I look at my sister's Facebook temperature reports, and I'm thinking, I'm so glad I live in New England. Sorry, Tree.
Yes. How's it like to live on the surface of the sun? So I want to talk a little bit about, we haven't talked about in a while, but the kids' homeschooling that we've got going, especially the stuff we're doing through Homeschool Connections. Now, for those who don't know, Homeschool Connections is a Catholic online Catholic homeschooling company. They
do classes.
I think so they're incorporated. Yeah, they're a company,
I suppose you could say.
Yeah,
curriculum provider.
They're not like Seton Homeschooling, which is a like school in a box where it's very formalized.
You can basically, they have classes in just about every area, and you could conceivably do all of your homeschooling through them. I think for the upper grades, right, for
high school,
middle school, and upper elementary.
Okay. I didn't realize it went down that far.
Oh yeah, they don't do a lot of early elementary stuff, but they have some upper elementary.
But it's not like set up like this is freshman year, this is sophomore year, and you could go through. They would provide you the whole curriculum in a box.
No, they do live and recorded classes, and basically they have a course catalog. I mean, it kind of reminds me of like my
college
course catalog. And so they have a catalog of courses, and you look at the catalog and you sign up for which classes you want, and it's a la carte.
So as a family, you're deciding what classes you're taking.
Well, they have several options.
Okay.
So they have live classes, and that's just a la carte. You like pick the classes that you want to sign up for. You sign up for them, you pay for them. The kids log in via, it's not Zoom anymore, or is it Zoom? I think it's Zoom. Yeah, it's Zoom, but they have their own portal set up
through Moodle.
Yeah, and then they go into Zoom and they do the class. And so there's like the teacher, the video,
but there's also a separate moderator in addition to the teacher.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really like about their live classes is the teacher isn't trying to do all the technical stuff and keep the kids, do classroom discipline and all that stuff. So they have a teacher who's teaching and a moderator who's helping kids deal with technical stuff, who's
keeping an eye on the chat,
putting out fires, making sure that nothing goes bad in the chat. She also does, the moderator does like a mic check at the beginning of class. Like they are able to log into the class like 20 minutes before class starts. And she'll do like fun question and answer, silly question of the day sorts of stuff. And there's like a little
icebreaker sort of stuff.
But also just like getting to know your classmates sort of things. And Isabella has especially enjoyed that feature of the classes that she's taken. So that's the live courses, but they also have recorded courses where they've recorded previous live courses, and you can sign up for one course. You can sign up for unlimited courses for a month or unlimited courses for a year. So we've been doing some of the live classes, but we did a trial subscription to the recorded courses last month. And Sophie and Isabella both did some recorded classes. Isabella did a History of Australia class, which she really enjoyed. And Sophie did a science class on parasites, which she thoroughly enjoyed. We got daily parasite updates.
Yes, but although we had to put a kibosh on them at dinner.
Right.
No parasite talk at dinner, much to Anthony's chagrin.
And, they have science, they have history, they have literature.
They have computer science. They have computer stuff too, yeah.
Right, they have theology, they have foreign language, they have math, everything, really.
Yeah, pretty much everything. And they also have the homeschool cafe.
For I think 12 or 13 and up, they have their own social media platform where kids can go and hang out with each other. They can ask questions about classes, but they have lots of fan pages, like Marvel fan pages, musical fan pages, Tolkien fan pages.
Right. It's really become a social outlet for both Isabella and Sophie.
And on Friday nights, they have like a game night where there's just like drop-in rooms and you can just go hang out with people and
do role-playing games.
Play games. Isabella's got a Dungeons and Dragons group that one of the moderators is running as the dungeon master.
Yep.
So there's lots of different things going on. And I find that they are spending a lot of time writing. Isabella has a blog on the homeschool cafe, and so she's actually written some blog posts for it, and they have some fun things where they like every month they have an election for the cafe president, which is just a purely honorary title, but they have fun running silly elections and
teen popularity contests.
Yeah, basically.
They have a channel just for girls and a channel just for boys, so they can have chats separate from each other when they need to.
And being a Catholic company, Isabella has said that there's frequently opportunities for praying for and with other people, and that it is a community that is faith-based.
And that there are adult moderators in all of these places too. That's the other important thing. There's no place in here that doesn't have adult moderators.
Right. So if things go bad, if something happens,
conflict or other
conflicts,
things,
there's kids acting inappropriately. There's an adult who can step in and help smooth things over.
Yeah.
So it's not like a Wild West kids running.
It's not like Facebook or Twitter, basically.
Right. Basically, it's a bunch of same age peers and moderators so that things can't go too crazy.
Well, and I like the fact that listening to especially Bella talk about how, kind of learning how to deal with the various aspects of these the dealings with people. Like this person did this weird thing and all the girls got together and said that was kind of odd and someone should, gently talk to him about that, or that sort of thing.
Right.
And learning how to deal with these things in the non-destructive, whatever it is, the secular world, the free for all of regular social media does. So it's really nice.
It's so basically social media with training wheels for teens.
But the primary thing is there's the classes, and we're looking at maybe even Anthony and taken some of the classes. He needs some more to do, so that would be a lot of fun to get him and stuff.
So we've subscribed for the year-long recorded classes, as many as you want, and they have over 450 different classes.
Yeah.
And for one, there's a family rate, so all the kids can take them. If you want to have separate accounts so that their kids' grades and everything for those recorded classes are separate, you can pay more for that, but we're just paying the one flat.
We don't really do grades anyway, so.
Right. I don't care.
Yeah.
Just watch the classes. If you do the quizzes and stuff, that's fine, but I don't require it.
Yeah. So those are some things we've been having to do with learning and schooling. And if anyone has questions about about Homeschool Connections or how we do homeschooling or anything like that, we gladly take them and we'll answer them to the best of we can. Again, you can email us at betts@sqpn.com. So let's talk about some stuff we've been cooking. We've had a couple of new recipes this week. One is something called pesto rosso, or pesto with pasta pesto rosso. So you've heard of pesto. Most people have. Pesto is that green chunky sauce that you see on pasta. Which is the regular pesto you've heard of, which is a Genovese pesto, is basil and pine nuts or walnuts sometimes, and that sort of stuff, and cheese. Well, the pesto rosso is different. It's a Sicilian pesto, and so let me pull it up. And this was another Milk Street recipe, of course. So it's roasted red peppers, pecorino romano cheese, garlic, olive oil, and pine nuts or almonds.
We did pine nuts.
We did pine nuts and sun-dried tomatoes. And you put this together. You made it. So
I did. Yeah, it was pretty easy to put together. We had the jarred roasted
red peppers, yep,
and
the jarred sun-dried tomatoes.
Jarred sun-dried tomatoes. So it was basically one of those mostly opening jars, throwing things into the food processor and pushing the button recipes.
Apart from making the pasta, there was no cooking. There's no heat.
Yes.
I liked it.
It was okay. I'm not sure that I would necessarily...
It didn't knock my socks off.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would necessarily go for it again.
So the pine nuts were all right. They certainly lent it some crunch, so there was some texture to it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the texture was well received in general.
Right. I ended up eating most of it myself because I liked it. But yeah,
the kids were kind of iffy on it. They were like, most of them went for just getting some plain pasta.
Yeah, pasta and sauce and that sort of thing. I don't know. It felt like it needed something more, like some more spice to it. I think it needed to be a little spicier, a little more kick.
It did have like a teaspoon of red pepper flakes.
Yeah, that didn't. Maybe our red pepper flakes are not as strong or whatever as they were expecting it to be. But maybe also our kids
maybe it was just Yankee mild.
Right. Although Milk Street's pretty good at coming with the heat if they need to. So I don't know. I might have put more spice in it, I think. But it was it was okay. I liked it. It was pretty good. So I recommend it, but probably maybe not kids especially if they're not used to. It's sort of it's kind of hard to say, but it's a small bite, like small little bits, crunchiness, and maybe some kids just don't like that kind of texture. So the other thing we made this week is today I made clam cakes. Now, if you're not from New England, and especially from Rhode Island,
I had no idea. Like for me, clam cakes are kind of like I would assume it was like a crab cake, but with clams instead of.
Right. A little patty that's mostly breadcrumbs and stuff in it. That's what
right. Then you kind of pan fry and it's like.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a crab cake. Well, Rhode Island clam cakes is a whole different thing. It's basically a hush puppy with clams in it.
I would have called it a clam fritter rather than a cake.
And in some places, it's called a clam fritter, like in Rhode Island. It's more often called a clam cake. It's just because we're New Englanders. We're stubborn that way. Yeah. So what it is just it's often described as fluffy, like a beignet but savory, or a donut.
See, when you say beignet and clams, my stomach kind of churns. Yuck.
Right. That's why you say savory, but it's airy. It's kind of light and doughy inside. But it's deep fried. That's the big difference. It's deep fried like a donut would be, or like a fried fish.
The batter was basically like a beer batter, like your beer battered fish.
It's beer battered, right? And so here's what's in it. So you got eggs, buttermilk, clam broth, beer, maple syrup.
I did not taste the maple syrup.
You're not supposed to, but it does give it a little bit. It kind of cuts some of the bitterness. Definitely,
that's that New Englandy touch to it.
There would have been some sweetener in it, and so they go with maple syrup. Chopped or ground clams, salt, baking powder, and it called for cake flour, but said you could use all-purpose flour. I didn't have cake flour. Cake flour is softer and fluffier. It's much more tender. And I think that's why they use cake flour very often in it.
I can't imagine these being even more soft and fluffy and tender than they were, because they were super fluffy.
Super pillowy, yeah. So, and that's the thing is, so you make this batter, and then you take tablespoons full and drop them into the hot oil. Like it's just this amorphous mass. And then it cooks, and you kind of rotate it just like you would a donut or whatever. And just for 5 minutes in the oil. And then you take it off. Now, I would have liked to. I think the oil was not hot enough because it wasn't as crispy on the outside as I would have liked.
I thought the crispy factor was fine.
Okay,
I would not have wanted them much more crispy.
Okay,
actually,
I like a crunch, but okay. Everybody liked it. Well, Bella liked it, which is surprising because she doesn't often like the weird.
Who didn't
things.
like them?
Everybody had some. I think some of them didn't have very much because they weren't hungry.
They all had chips and salsa right before dinner. So I'm not sure that's
ruined their dinner.
That's whatever.
But it's leftover. Leftovers are fine because you just throw them back in the oil for a minute tomorrow, and they perk right up again. You finish them. But yeah, so it was super easy, and they were really good.
I would definitely say we should have these again for dinner.
Well, next time I do it, I'm definitely going to have more clam in it though, because I didn't have quite as much as the recipe called for, but I think I would do even more than the recipe called for.
I'm wondering though. I know that's your preference. I'm wondering if I would like them as much with more clam.
Well, the thing is, I didn't feel like it tasted a lot of clam flavor.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I liked about it.
So basically, you just want the fritters without any meat in it.
A little bit of meat's fine, but I don't necessarily want to be overwhelmed by the clam flavor.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah, well, I kind of like the serving suggestion, which is to dip it in clam chowder. Like to put it in the clam chowder. Now that's going all out, with the clam. But you made the French fries, the cold start French fries to go with it. So, which was, and you did it very savvy. We started the French fries in the oil, cooked those mostly, took those out, cooked the clam cakes. When those were done, you put the fries back in for a couple minutes to perk them up and make them hot. And that worked great.
That did work really well. It the fries didn't have, they were able to.
They didn't get soggy.
Yeah.
And they didn't get too crispy. Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't have to wait while your clam cake's getting cold while the fries cooked. Because fries take the cold oil fries.
It take a while.
Like 20 minutes, 25 minutes sometimes.
Yeah. Because you start from cold oil with the potatoes sitting in it. We've talked about it before. And so it takes some time for them to get to cooked. So, okay, the clam cakes are good. Serve them with, I made some homemade tartar sauce, and they go good with Tabasco sauce. This recipe that I followed, and I'll put a link in the show notes, calls for remoulade.
I ate mine with British style malt vinegar, which
that would be good.
Oh man, I love fish and chips with malt vinegar. It's just the best. So that worked actually.
Yep.
Well, with that,
even ketchup would be acceptable. However you like them. I like the clam chowder idea though. Maybe in the winter when we're making chowder, I'll try that. And it was, like I said, super easy. So definitely want to do this again. Awesome. So let's talk about some things we've been reading and watching. I want to mention one thing started watching that I've heard a lot of good things about. It's an Amazon Prime series called Terminal List. Terminal List, not Terminalist, but 2 words. Terminal List. Starring Chris Pratt, and it's a drama based on a book about a Navy SEAL who, in the whole thing starts with a mission that they're on, and the mission goes bad. He has a traumatic brain injury. He gets a concussion. His whole team is almost his whole team is killed, and the rest. So as far as I can tell, I've only watched 2 episodes so far, but as far as I can tell, the rest of the series is about him. He's convinced that somebody set his team up and track them back to the States, and is trying to frame him and or hunt him down and kill the people around him. And what's really cool about it's a psychological thriller because he has this traumatic brain injury, and he's seeing things, but you're not sure if he's imagining everything. And they keep playing with that. Like, just when you're convinced that everything is in his head, they'll twist it. And like someone will say something or something will happen. You're like, whoa, it's really not all in his head. And then it'll go on and on. Like, well, maybe that was in his head. Well, maybe it isn't. Maybe this guy, like there's one guy I've picked out as the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Maybe, like, you know how I always pick out who the bad guy is going to be. And so this was one guy who is clearly should be the bad guy if this were a straight up story. But I'm not even sure of that because it's an unreliable narrator. And it's really good.
I do like unreliable narrators. So.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really interesting.
I'll let you get far enough in to know that it's worth watching.
I think it's 8 episodes. I'm on the 2nd episode, so we'll see how it goes.
I did watch. Wait, I already said that I watched the first episode of the first 2 episodes of Grace.
That's right. You mentioned that last week. Yep,
I did.
So we both watched the season finale of Ms. Marvel,
which was great.
Yeah, great series. Great for the teens and preteens.
I'm totally looking forward to the kids watching it. I
think they're going to really enjoy it. The last episode, though, it was good. It was lacking a few things. A little. There was some believability issues for timing of things, and why did the bad guys do that? Like, how do they have enough time to do that in that short brief period of time? So there's a few like timeline stretching things that were weird, and then just some loose ends that didn't get wrapped up properly.
I'm wondering if some of those loose ends are going to be dealt with in the movie, though, because they teased the.
Wait, there's a movie?
Didn't you see that?
No.
Yeah.
So
did you watch the
post credit scene?
The post credit teaser scene?
I guess I didn't.
Okay, there's a post credit teaser scene.
Oh.
And it makes it clear. In fact, they say that there is going to be a movie in which Ms. Marvel is in a movie with Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah, wow.
So this is basically the origin story, backstory, prequel to the
Captain Marvel movie that will include Ms. Marvel.
Yes.
Oh.
I can't believe you missed that.
I don't know why. I forgot to look for. Well, because the TV shows have not been doing post-credit scenes.
Yeah, but it's the final episode. You always look for one.
No, in general, like Hawkeye, Captain America, Loki doesn't do one, I don't think, but maybe did the Captain America do one, a post-credit scene in the final episode?
I don't remember.
See, I don't remember them doing one.
I tend to like just let the credits play because I'm like, fidgeting while I'm watching, so I don't like turn it off right away.
Yeah. I was probably just heading to bed. But okay, so that's interesting. They're setting some of that stuff is setting up for the movie.
Yes. All
right. So because I was wondering if they were going to do a season 2 as well.
I continue to really love the family and the way they deal with the Pakistani culture and
Muslim religion.
Yes.
I think the Imam is a great religious leader. He's one of the best religious leaders I've seen in a TV series like this since Daredevil and the priest, his priest. I think fantastic. He's really good. I think the dad.
I love the dad.
The dad is awesome.
And
the mom turns out pretty good.
I
dislike her in the beginning, but
in the first couple of episodes, she feels like a very much a
stereotypical, overbearing Pakistani Muslim mom sort of thing.
The like, just overprotective, I would say.
Yeah.
She feels overprotective.
Right.
Which, in a way, with a teen superhero, you almost need.
You almost always need a overprotective parent that they're having to sneak out from underneath so that they can be the superhero.
Right. I mean, I suppose Spider-Man went the other way, where Aunt May is actually like
super permissive.
She's definitely not overprotective. I mean,
no.
she wants to be overprotective, but she's just.
Well, but Peter in that case is somewhat restrained in general.
Right.
He's self-restrained in that.
Right. And so I felt like this, gave sort of the other option for teen superhero with the but I thought but by the end of the show, her family comes out as being supportive.
Yeah.
And we don't, so there's not this sort of ongoing secret identity. We can't let everybody know who I am.
Right. Right.
But by the final
episode, she's able to talk to her whole family's behind her. And that's really good. I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil too much.
I don't want to spoil too much, but
that doesn't spoil much. But yeah, it was a really good series. I mean, we've been talking about it from the beginning. I think it's the Marvel series on Disney Plus have universally been really good.
Yeah.
WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Hawkeye, Loki, and now this one. I missed one, didn't I? What was between WandaVision and Falcon?
Nothing.
No. Okay, I thought I missed one. Anyway, they've all been super.
You missed Moon Knight.
Well, yes, we haven't got to Moon Knight. Moon Knight, if anything, is the one that doesn't really. It was okay. It was, Oscar Isaac was really good in it, but it had its flaws.
Mostly, I felt like Moon Knight was much more of the fan service, and it doesn't tie into anything else in the MCU.
Yes.
And I felt like I kind of wanted more explanations of things.
I think of all of the Disney Plus series, it's the one that's really intended for the people who know the comics.
But I liked it. I thought it was an enjoyable story, and
yeah.
Oscar Isaac sort of made it totally worthwhile to watch.
But so I mean, because so far those series have been great. All right, so and then we watched Loki episode 3 with the kids today, which with the cliffhanger ending.
They were not happy with the cliffhanger.
But as it was said to one of them, look, if we'd watched the next one, that also ends with a cliffhanger. And you don't want to end on that one either. So just deal with it. These are short episodes. It's half hours at a time.
They are short episodes. I think actually with of all the series, Loki actually is probably best to watch with the original breaks and time to reflect and think.
Yeah.
In between each episode, because I felt like
there's a lot that happens.
There's a lot to kind of ponder and think about, and I think that having time to do so between episodes is actually to its benefit.
And you really, it's so funny how you really get to like Loki through this series. I mean,
of course, I had friends who already really loved Loki.
You like Loki, but because he's the scamp, he's the rascal, he's still the bad guy, but in this, he really does become the good guy. So it's interesting. It's interesting. You also watched part of something.
So my thunder.
What's your what?
You stole my thunder.
Stole your thunder. Yes.
Yeah. There's been a lot of chatter and discussion, and lots of absolute pans of Netflix's new adaptation of Jane Austen's Persuasion,
yeah.
Which is a lot of people, including my favorite Jane Austen novel. And this Persuasion really felt like it wanted to be a modern adaptation a la Clueless or Bridget Jones' Diary, except they didn't want to get rid of the costumes. They wanted to also have the costumes and the sets and the carriages and all of the stuff. I mean, in a way, I suppose maybe it wanted to also kind of be Bridgerton.
Well, I saw something that said neither of us have watched Fleabag, which a lot of people have watched and said it was really good. But they said that this character, I forget the name of the character, Anne, is totally playing that same fourth wall breaking, sarcastic, self-deprecating, girl boss character that was in Fleabag.
Which is just, it's so weird because
it's so anachronistic.
It's not only anachronistic, it's the opposite of like, if any of Austen's characters could do that, I would say maybe Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice, or Catherine Morland in Northanger Abbey, I could see doing that. Or Emma, she would be a great fourth wall breaker. But Anne Elliot is the most quiet, reserved, self-effacing of Austen's heroines.
It's kind of the point of her character.
Right. Like really the whole point of her character is that she's self-effacing to the point where she gives in to her friend who persuades her to dump the guy who she's madly in love with because she's so self-effacing. And this whole swigging out of a wine bottle and
carrying around a rabbit for no good reason.
It was so weird. I made it 25 minutes in and I was done. My friend watched about the same amount and she said, yeah, when we get to the point where the gravy boat falls on her head, it's over. It's done.
And she says things like, you know, she's a 10 in Bath, but she's a 5 in London. Like, people in Regency England didn't talk like that, or, you know, referring to a stack of music as a playlist.
It felt like it was really trying too hard to be hip and relevant. And like I said, like the script would have worked pretty well if it was set in present day.
Yeah.
But they didn't want that. They wanted to have the costume drama elements too.
Ugh.
It could be a fun movie to watch with a bunch of girlfriends and a few bottles of something and to get really silly with, and to, like, you know, a bunch of popcorn to throw at the TV when it gets ridiculous.
I saw one reviewer say it's not even like so bad it's good. It's just bad.
I think I could have fun panning it. The costumes too, while most of them were actually not bad, the main character's costumes were frequently absolutely not period costumes. Right. At one point she's wearing like an Edwardian shirtwaist.
And she's got like a French beret on at another point or something.
Yeah, and then there's a scene where she's got her hair down, and in Regency England, women did not wear their hair down.
It's like walking out without a shirt on.
Yeah, you might as well, right. Go walk down the street barefoot, or go shirtless. Like, it just wasn't done.
Right. Yeah.
And especially with a character who's supposed to be older, not younger. Right.
The character is older than Dakota Johnson.
Well, she's supposed to be like late 20s. Right. So like maybe a young woman, like an 18-year-old, could get away with wearing her hair down, but not a 27-year-old.
In the 1800s, 27 was basically middle age. Mm-hmm. You were a respectable older member of society.
If you weren't married by then, you're like probably not going to get married. Yeah. Right. That's kind of the whole point of the character. Anyway, it was not good. It was so not good that I'm not sure I can bring myself to watch the rest of it. But I tried. I gave it a shot.
You gave it a shot. Well, you did finish something.
I did finish the Vorkosigan saga finally, which I can't even remember how many books there were in it. It was at least 14, 15, 16, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Especially in the later novels, it got a little bit more into espousing moral gray areas. I mean, essentially, they're they're using an IVF sort of technology to like not have women don't have to bear children because it's, you know, inherently dangerous, which we kind of talked about this, like the ethics of an artificial womb is in a sense like any incubator for like a 20, you know, a baby who's born at 22 weeks is an artificial womb of sorts.
The church's moral teaching on the acceptability of reproduction, you know, it's about the conception. As long as the children are conceived naturally, it doesn't really enter into things what happens, how early they're delivered, frankly.
Right. However, I think that the church would probably tend to err on the, you wouldn't remove the child from the mother's womb if there weren't a serious or grave reason for doing so,
right?
Like
not
just for convenience,
endangering the child's life for the sake of vanity. Because any procedure like that endangers the child's life and the mother's life, so it should not be done just for vanity.
No, I mean, theoretically, this is so far in the future that they've got the science down to the point where it's not endangering people's lives to do this, but they're using an IVF technology to create babies outside of the marital act and freezing embryos and sometimes destroying the embryos, which is especially problematic.
Right. So all that stuff would be.
And yet, weirdly enough, there were at least 2 different novels where the plot hinged on the babies in the artificial wombs being treated as persons. And there's one in which a bunch of them are kidnapped. And it's treated as kidnapping, like you kidnapped our children. These are children. And the characters are treating them as if they were like people, persons, children, not. So there's
not just fetuses or a clump of cells.
And I felt like the series did at times dive into the tropes of, which a lot of science fictions do, where like you've got the barbarian backworld with traditional morality and then the advanced, enlightened, higher technology with much more relaxed, permissive sexual morality. And obviously the more traditional people are backwards and need to be enlightened into the modern world by the more technologically advanced people. I kind of.
That's about 6 episodes of Star Trek Discovery.
Right. I roll my eyes at that, but I liked the characters and I liked the world building, and most of the sexual stuff was less central to the plots. There was one novel in which it was very, very central to the plot. Actually, 2 novels, and those I didn't like as well.
So not for teens or kids, right?
Definitely not for teens, not for kids at all.
Okay.
There's way too much violence for one thing, and sex, but if you don't mind those kinds of issues cropping up in your just for fun reading, I thought that it was a really, really fun series. And I got my sister reading them now, so I can have someone to talk to about them.
Well, I finished 2 things this week. The first thing, I mean, that which is a huge thing for me to finish 2 in a week these days.
No kidding.
So the first one was a book in the Tom Clancy universe, the Clancyverse. Clancyverse. Tom Clancy died several years ago, and so there are other authors continuing on his books. And there's 2 strains of books, 2 threads. One follows the dad, Jack Ryan Sr., who's now president of the United States, and another set of books follows the son, Jack Ryan Jr., who is a I've mentioned it before. He in the stories he works for an off the books spying organization that, you know, U.S. spy organization. Anyway, this book is really good. I thought it deals with North Korea and
wait, which one does this deal with? The father or the son?
The son. It's called 0 Hour, and it deals with Jack Ryan Jr. And it's got the premise is North Korea, the supreme leader, who is not Kim Il Sung, Kim Jong Il. I can never keep them straight. Which one is which? The dad or the son? Anyway, it's their fictional supreme leader is critically injured, and so this other North Korean leader is going to have a coup, and he's going to do that by declaring war and starting a war with South Korea and the United States at the same time. And so Jack gets caught up in this and is in such a situation where he has to stop the war from starting and go into North Korea, and various machinations that involve him hooking up with these couple of these Green Berets that he met in a different mission before, and so it's a lot of cool, military spy sorts of stuff, very very typical Clancy style. But one of the things I really like was one of the things that really set apart Tom Clancy himself, his novels, because Clancy was Catholic, and while they weren't Catholic books. Jack Ryan, was a Catholic, had a Catholic mindset and had a Catholic morality about a lot of things. I mean, he did have to engage in violence at times, not a lot. He was a CIA analyst to start with, but he was married. He was stable family was very important, family values. The younger Jack, as he's been written by several different authors over the years, has been less so. He's had a series of girlfriends. The morality has not necessarily been all there for the girlfriend sort of stuff. And suddenly in this novel with a new author, it's interesting. Wants Jack to settle down. It's time for him to start thinking about having a family, and, which is really feels more Clancy-like to me. So I'm kind of pleased with that at least the character seems to be heading in that direction. So we'll see how that goes. But it was a pretty good book. I enjoyed it. A nice diversion. I don't expect a lot from the Tom Clancy novels. It's just sort of fun, military spy thriller sort of stuff.
Right.
You and I both read a novella that we found unexpectedly from Jim Butcher as part of the Dresden Files.
Right.
Called The Law.
The Law. So it's a short novella, long. It's too long for a short story.
It's a long short story.
Right. It takes place after the most recent novel, which was Battleground. And I really liked the fact that this story goes back to the origins of the series, where Harry is a private eye. So it's got the classic hard-boiled private eye damsel in distress story. Girl comes to Harry. She's got troubles. She needs him to sort things out for her. And Harry puts on his hero mode and goes to try to sort out her issues, and runs into a bunch of technical problems that he has to try.
A bunch of supernatural problems.
Right.
The supernatural world that Harry deals with.
But they're kind of technical supernatural problems as opposed to big, scary bad guy supernatural problems, which I really liked. It went back to he's negotiating with the different factions and different people and what's motivating them, and who are you and why are you doing this, and he's really digging into the personal aspects, and it's not just power everywhere. Right. In fact, he can't really use his power. There's these constraints on him for various reasons, not social reasons, that have to do with his relationships with other people, that he just can't use his power the way he wants to. I thought it was fun. It was a nice novel. It pulled some of the threads out. It tidied up some of the loose ends of Battleground. Not all of them. There were a lot of loose ends at the end of Battleground. I'm hoping this means that the next novel is not too far away in the pipeline. So far, I haven't seen anything about that. But. Yeah, I think Butcher is one of the better world builders out there. Definitely. And we talked about how we both love his magic system in this because of these constraints it imposes. There are definite constraints. He doesn't just fling magic around wherever you want. Like, there's still the rule of hospitality where you have to be invited into someone's home, and if you're not invited in, your magic won't work, and you have to believe that your magic will work for it to happen. And like, there's all these very interesting constraints that show up. And this whole world that lives underneath the regular world around us, that is, it's really fun. And I mentioned his son is started writing novels now, and so Jim Butcher's son, Jim Butcher Jr. And I'd gotten a thing from one of those websites where it offers to give you, let you be a advanced reader to write a review, and I
put my name in, but I never heard back from them. So I guess I'm not going to get that in advance. But I'm looking forward to seeing the book itself, seeing how that comes out. That should be interesting. That's a lot of reading and watching that we've done. So speaking of hospitality, the readings for this week for Mass.
Did you do that deliberately?
The word hospitality came up, yeah. Where the Abraham by the terebinth of Mamre, where he entertained the three men who it turns out were messengers from God. And in the early church fathers saw in them a sign of the Trinity. So it was in fact God, maybe God himself. And so the hospitality he showed to them. And then for the gospel, it was Mary and Martha and Jesus coming to their house. And when Martha complains that Mary's not helping, and Jesus says, Mary is doing the better part. You're anxious and worried about many things. There is need of only one thing. And the first thing I want to mention, though, is something that Mother Sophia from Mount St. Mary's Abbey, who writes reflections on the Gospels very often, she mentioned that the new feast of St. Martha, Mary, and Lazarus that's coming up on July 29th.
Right.
So it used to be that July 29th was the feast of St. Martha, but this year, February 2021, last year in February 2021, I forgot which year it was, Pope Francis declared that it would actually be the feast of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus because they were a family.
Right. The three siblings of Bethany.
Right.
Which I love. I love that. Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, like as a trio, as a set of siblings, as a family. I love that combination even better than them solo.
Mm-hmm. So both readings, the first reading and the gospel, deal with hospitality. Both Martha and Abraham are being hospitable, right? They're welcoming. This is my reflection on it. But,
right.
But what makes the two of them different from each other? And I was looking at saying, is it an obligation or a gift to be able to be hospitable, right? It seemed like Mary saw it as she had this obligation that she...
You mean Martha?
Martha, sorry, I might do that more than once. Thank you for correcting that. Martha was focused on her duty, her obligation as host.
Do you think so?
She was fulfilling all these things, doing all the,
Well, I mean, where in the text does it show it as an obligation?
Well, no, I think there is an obligation to be hospitable.
Right, but why do you think that she
was burdened with much serving? Mary, burdened with much serving, came to him. Martha, burdened with I'm going to keep doing it. Martha, burdened with much serving, came to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister's left me by myself to do the serving? Tell her to help me. She's burdened, so it's a burden, okay? Abraham and Mary were more focused on being present to God in that moment. That's the way I looked at it. And Father Leo, who said the Mass today, said something I thought was interesting. He said that hospitality is to see Christ in others, which is what Abraham saw. He saw God in the three men who come to see him, right. And Mary saw Jesus for who he is. This opportunity to sit at his feet, and he mentioned how Mother Teresa and the missionaries of charity, that's one of their prime aspects, is when they're serving the poor in the streets, is Mother Teresa said she sees Christ first in each person that she picks up. So there's that sense of hospitality in serving Christ through this.
Right. Well, in the first reading, it actually says, the Lord appeared to Abraham as he sat in the entrance of his tent.
Right.
So first it says the Lord appeared, and then looking up, he saw three men standing nearby. Right. So it's very clear that the first thing that we see is there's the Lord. Right. And then we sort of get the elaboration. He sees three men.
Right. The three men are the Lord. He sees God in these three men. And these three men, it turns out, are messengers from God.
And the first thing he does is running out from the entrance of the tent to greet them.
They don't come to him and ask for hospitality. He runs to them to give them hospitality.
And bows to them.
Yes. I love the fact, by the way, how long were these three men with Abraham and Sarah? Because he picked out a cow, had it slaughtered, and then had it cooked. That's not like he didn't shove it in the microwave. Heat up the leftovers.
That struck me too. That's a long process.
Yeah, that's like he's having a barbecue.
Right now, mind you, he gives them other food while they're to eat while they're waiting for the beef to cook.
Oh yeah, curds and milk. He makes some rolls.
Yep. So they got some bread and cheese to eat like as an appetizer while they're waiting for the steaks to cook.
Slaughtering a cow is not like a 15-minute process. This we're talking hours and hours here.
Right. So this is a long
they might have stayed overnight with them.
Right. This is a long visitation.
Yes. I also thought it was interesting. They asked Abraham, "Where's your wife Sarah?" They're in the tent. One of them said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah will then have a son." And I was thinking that's like the Holy Spirit overshadowing Mary.
Interesting.
And bearing Jesus. There's a very Mariological Joseph and Abraham, Christ child feel to that part of the reading. So I thought it was really interesting. Now, Mother Sophia of Mount St. Mary's Abbey, she had some interesting thoughts. She talked about
she also talked about hospitality,
and she had funny anecdotes about she dealing as the abbess dealing with the delivery men and men come to fix they make candy. I mentioned before, fix the machines. And there was this one guy who he was a gruff sort, she said, never short of complaints about his life, his health, how badly he was treated by his employer and other customers, and just about everything else. But I liked him, she says. One day, when he had finished working on a machine, he told me he needed time and space to fill out all the stupid paperwork his company made him do, and I would need to wait for him to finish and sign it afterwards. I invited him to use the conference room for as long as he needed, and quite spontaneously smiled at him and said, "It's no trouble at all." You can picture that, by the way, right? Mm-hmm. Like the sweet sisters. Later, when he was ready to leave, he looked uncomfortable, but as he spoke, I realized he was deeply moved. He mumbled, "I'm not going to charge you anything. No one treats me like you folks do," which is probably true. And these moments made real for me the favor that hospitality bestows on the one who gives an encounter with the Lord, whether in the other person or within oneself. But then she says, we know how having company makes us feel, a certain gladness and bounce in our step. And I'm like, whoa, they're extrovert. Not everyone feels a buzz in their step when they find out there's company coming.
Depends on who the company is.
It does. But she says, hospitality is not just for the stranger. The hardest hospitality is for the person who lives in the home with you. And she tells a story about a sister who died several years ago who sang off key and badly.
I noticed that she tells the story about the sister who's dead.
Yes, she's not telling about the sisters who's still next to her, who annoys her still. And she talks about how when she realized when she would sing badly, and then there were times when she wouldn't sing at all. And she's like, "Oh, thank you, Lord." But then realized that maybe she's not singing at all because she's feeling unwell. And then, so when she would sing loudly and badly in the future, she would smile because it meant that the sister was well again. I'm not sure. I could not get away with that myself in me. But she says, there's a really good line here. She says, "Someone remarked to me recently that it's easy to lay down your life for someone you've just met or whom you only see occasionally. The real challenge is to do that for those who we live with day in and day out, whose peccadillos are the pinpricks of daily life and whose faults we are tempted to dismiss as unchangeable."
This sounds like something that our family could use as a reflection.
That strikes home.
We've had a very hard time this summer with certain people.
As they're getting into the teen years, they're becoming like teens, and there's some intractability and some
people who seem to have
under each other's skin.
The exact same confrontations and arguments every single day,
over and over,
exact same ones over and over and over again, and it's kind of grating on all of us.
Refereeing the battles all day long. And I was thinking, like, it's not even like it's winter where they're all cooped up indoors all the
But
all
that's
the time.
the irony, is that it's like usually this stuff settles down in the summer and it only peaks up in the winter. And I don't know what's going on right now because everyone's just cranky.
Yeah, they need to get out. So, yeah. Did you have any other thoughts about the hospitality and Mary and Martha? You had some thoughts about Mary and Martha before you were telling me.
I'm trying to remember.
Well,
I really do love the I love the household of Bethany, and I feel like every time we visit there, there's just such a great reflection into family life, sibling life, like being brothers and sisters. On one sense, the Martha coming to Jesus and saying, "Tell my sister to get up and help me," feels so very true to my own sibling relationships and the sibling relationships of our kids.
Right.
Like, it's just, yeah, that's how sisters act, which our own teenage daughters were saying they saw a lot of themselves in their relationship in that little exchange right there.
It's not that either one of them is Mary and one of them is Martha. They both see themselves in Mary and Martha at different times.
Right. And one thing that I think is often done with this reading that I think starts to kind of miss the mark is to attribute these ideas of, like, I am a Mary or I am a Martha, and to see Jesus's criticism of Martha is a criticism of the role of serving, because he's not criticizing her for choosing serving and hospitality and active hospitality versus sitting and listening to his words. He's criticizing her anxiety.
Right. You're anxious and worried about many things.
It's her worries. It's her anxiety that he calls out.
Stop catastrophizing. Does that sound familiar too?
Right. And her anxiety has got in the way of her relationships, both her relationship with her sister and her relationship with Jesus. Like, she's so focused on feeling burdened
and put upon
that she's not open to really being hospitable to Jesus, because, like, coming to dump her problems on her is the opposite of hospitality. And she's not being loving to her sister. And Jesus wants to, but what I love about it is you're anxious and you're worried. This is Jesus who wants to take our burdens away from us. And he doesn't like slap her down. He sees you're anxious, you're worried. Let me take that anxiety away from you. It's
not a rebuke of Martha.
No, it's more like I really, really want to help you. Let me help you.
Right. In fact, I think it says a lot about the person reading this, what tone they imagine Jesus using here.
I mean, here I see Jesus the physician. I see Jesus seeing her woundedness and wanting to heal it and bringing her back into communion with him, back to see that what Mary has chosen is relationship. She's chosen the better part of being in relationship with Jesus.
Also, note the way Martha phrases it. Do you not care? Of course, Jesus cares. Jesus cares deeply.
See, this is the burden of her anxiety and worry, is that her anxiety and worry has made her push Jesus far away, and she thinks God doesn't love me anymore.
Right.
Which is what we do, right? When we're anxious and burdened and feeling put upon, we throw ourselves a pity party and we think, well, God doesn't care about me and my problems.
Well, we insult God, basically. Well, obviously you don't care to let this happen, right? Excuse me? Of course I care.
I also love the fact that Jesus's response to her starts with her name.
Yeah.
And you can hear that as Martha, Martha, like
Martha, like pretty much.
Right. But I think that you can also hear it as just a very
gentle and loving,
tender
Martha.
Like, he calls her name because he is the one, right? Jesus is the one who knows us by name. He knows
his sheep, and he knows them by name.
Right. So this is him calling her. This is the shepherd calling the sheep and saying, come on.
Come here, Martha.
Come here.
Sit down next to your sister. Relax. It's okay.
But he also doesn't, it's interesting. He doesn't tell her what to do.
No.
He diagnoses the problem and lets her decide what she's going to do next. Like the next step is up to her, because he just says, I'm not going to take Mary's part away from her.
Right. But I'm not going to tell Mary not to do what she's doing.
Right. But he doesn't tell Martha, like, sit down next to Mary. Although a lot of people read it and said, I hope that that's what her next step is. He doesn't tell her to stop serving. He doesn't make up her mind for her. He just calls her into putting down the anxieties and the worries and noticing the good that Mary has. Like, this is a good thing. I'm not going to take it away from her. You can have the good thing too.
Right.
One commentator, I just wanted to add one last thought. One commentator I saw pointed out that Martha is the one, though, who identifies Jesus as the Messiah.
Right.
Martha is the one who, after Lazarus dies, runs out of the house to go talk to Jesus. She is a woman of deep faith. She recognizes who Jesus is and she knows him. So this incident where she's burdened and worried is not the totality of her character. It's a moment in time.
Right.
Who she is, though, is one of the great saints.
I love the fact that Jesus is so comfortable here. This is like home for him. This is his second home, this house at Bethany. And it's, and he is so close to them that he weeps when Lazarus dies. Even though he's going to raise him from the dead in a moment, he still weeps because of the pain that Mary and Martha feel and because of the pain that Lazarus must have gone through. And because I think Jesus recognizes how evil death is for all of us. So, but I love the fact that he's just so comfortable in this situation, in this home. Yeah. And
he obviously goes back there again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Martha, if he weren't close, almost family, she wouldn't go up to him, a stranger and tell him to tell her sister like that.
Well, no, in fact, the tone, don't you care? Tell her what to, tell her to help me. Aren't you going to tell her to help me? That's how we talk to our parents.
Right. That's how we talk in a family.
Right. She is addressing him almost as if he's in place of,
older brother, even
older brother.
Yeah.
But there's a very familial.
Familial.
Yeah.
Familial feel. It's hard to say.
A familial feel.
So that 10 times fast backwards. All right. So that should do it for us this time. I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create Raising the Bets, including Jarrett B, Guy C, David B, Erica P, and Susan S. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Raising the Bets and all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. You'll find links from our discussion in our show notes at sqpn.com/bets. Send us your feedback at the SQPN Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or an email to bets@sqpn.com, or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. Follow Raising the Bets in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at the StarQuest YouTube channel, where you should also make sure to hit the bell to get notifications. Until next time, I'm Don Bettinelli.
And I'm Melanie Bettinelli.
Thank you for listening to Raising the Bets on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Doctor Who. Find the show wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Doctor Who.